Welcome back to the Busy Bariatrics Podcast. On today's episode, we have Chelsea Bernardez. Chelsea is a MS, RDN, CDN, and is a registered dietitian with extensive experience in bariatric care and women's thyroid and hormone health. After undergoing vertical sleeve gastrectomy surgery herself in 2022, she has not only transformed her own health, but also dedicated her career to helping others navigate their weight loss journeys. Chelsea's unique perspective as both a healthcare professional and a bariatric patient allows her to connect deeply with her clients, offering guidance that's both expert and empathetic. Today, we'll delve into the essential role of dietary fats after weight loss surgery, debunk some common myths, and explore how to incorporate healthy fats into a post-surgery diet. But first off of that, welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
It's an honor to have you. Last year you came on for summer camp and I had such a blast talking to you because I feel like in the bariatric community you get it, but you've also had such a great journey between being a registered dietitian and having bariatric surgery yourself. So walk us through like kind of what got you into bariatrics.
Yeah. So what got me into bariatrics was having bariatric surgery. I actually have been around the bariatric community for 20 plus years. A lot of members of my personal family have had some type of bariatric something or other. And so I've lived it. I've seen it. I've seen the repercussions of not doing it the right way. I've seen people do it the right way. So I've known a lot about it. And during my dietetic internship, I did a little stint in bariatrics and I always found it so fascinating. I've gotten to see like a surgery before, which is pretty cool. And then when I finally decided to have bariatric surgery, I knew I could also help this population too. I don't know about you. I'm sure you feel the same way, but like helping people who are in a similar place that you're in helps your journey too. So whether even if you're like 10 steps ahead of them, you've experienced what they've experienced. And it's just so helpful to be a part of that community. So yeah, I love the bariatric community. I'm team bariatrics all the way.
Forged in the fires of it, which is awesome. And I think you're right. There's something to say. I always joke, I was not the best student, surprise, surprise, and now I teach high school. I think there's something to say of when you don't naturally get it or achieve or thrive with certain things, you have to work a little bit harder. But it does also teach you and give you a really good feel of what it's like to be in that person's shoes. So, for an example, I was not the best student. I struggled with studying, so I had to learn techniques and coping skills to actually succeed in school. And I think that does make me a better teacher. From the registered dietitian perspective, what were some things you struggled with prior to bariatric surgery that really helps you empathize with clients?
I mean,
We'll keep it to an hour.
yeah, I have been overweight my whole life. And it wasn't until I had a actually successful weight loss journey back in 2012, I had lost 80 pounds. And we'll call it successful because I had kept the weight off for an extended period of time. But I didn't do it the most healthful way. And it wasn't until I started gaining weight back and then had autoimmune diseases and then got pregnant and then hormonal issue, right? Like it was just one thing on top of the other. I felt helpless. At that point, I had the knowledge. I was a registered dietitian at that point, and everything I tried, I just kept gaining weight, just like when I was 8 years old, right? Although I was on every diet possible, probably, but I didn't take it too seriously because, right, we're young. But I was taking it very seriously and nothing was working. And I took a lot for me to get to the point where I decided I actually wanted to have surgery. A big ego push had to happen. My ego was so in the way. I was so against having surgery personally for so long because I've done it alone myself and you could do it again. And it just wasn't feasible. Where I'm at in life and my goals and what I want for my life and my family and the growth I want and the success I want, I needed to move my ego out of the way and say, I need a tool. I need a tool that's going to push me off the ledge, that's going to teach me what I need to learn, and something I can depend on. And I took it seriously, and it is like the best thing I ever did.
I couldn't agree more in the sense that I don't think it's anyone's first choice. And when you grow up struggling with your weight, I know from personal experience, I became a master of diets. I lived in an Italian household where food was everything and revolved around food. And you would literally get a plate like shoved in front of you, but then also be told, like, well, maybe not so much for you. And it's like, you already put like my third plate in front of me. What do I do at this point? So there's definitely a lot of dynamic that comes into play. And today we are going to be talking about fats. So, with a history of dieting, I think fats kind of get this really tough and difficult rap. And the reason I want to have you on and have this discussion is really just give people a better understanding of what fats are and why we actually need them both pre and post bariatric surgery.
Yeah, yeah. Well, fats are extremely important in everyone's life. And like you said, the 90s gave us a bad rep. Um, for me, and what we teach inside of the sleep dietitians programs and all that is all foods can fit, just not all the time. And I think that there's no truer macronutrient for that to fit in than fats. I'm a firm believer that while the quantity does matter, but it's really the quality of the fat that you're intaking, really post surgery, that matters, because we only have a finite amount of room and we need those nutrients. Fat does so much for our bodies and our hormones and our organs, and we need the fats help us absorb all the majority of the other nutrients. So we need fat in our diet and in our life. Also, it provides energy. There's just so many pros versus cons that I think we kind of got lost and confused 1998 and with the bacon and the whatever movement.
I remember specifically a green boxed cookie that I don't know if they still exist, so I'm always worried, like, will they come after me? But like when fat-free cookies were a big thing, and I would be like, oh, I downed a box of cookies, but this is okay, there's no fat. And I just had such a gross misunderstanding of how calories work back in middle school and high school that I was like, oh, as long as I'm not eating fat, I'm not going to get fat.
Yeah, that's what we were taught. And it's such a shame because I feel like our generation missed out on an opportunity to have a healthy relationship with food and fats and carbs and all that stuff, because that's what we were told is no fat. And then it turned into no carbs. And then it turned, right? Like it's every
If you're doing the math, people, protein will probably be demonized in the next 10 to 15 years because it's cyclical. Because if you talk to people my mom's age, their whole thing was like, if you have too much protein, it's going to destroy your life. And why does the diet community do this? Where it's like they just pick one macronutrient and decide this is the bane of existence at this time. True.
It's whoever
Big
rules
marketing.
us, right? Like it's a marketing ploy. It's nothing more than that. Which is why I think it's important to be educated on what actually works for your body and you and your life and what's sustainable and realistic for you in every season that you're in, so you can grow and use the knowledge to actually take care of yourself.
I love that approach. And I think something that I'd really love to talk about is the different seasons and what role fat can play in them. Can you kind of walk through like why fat content kind of changes, the requirements that could possibly alter throughout life, or different life changes of why fat content plays a big role in your life?
Well, it's kind of a hard answer because it's different for everyone. And then it's different for male versus female. And then it's different for, like, if you're a growing child, you should probably have a little bit more healthy fats in your diet. If you are an older adult, you don't necessarily need as much, but if you enjoy them, it can't really harm you unless you have an underlying condition, right? So like there's so many variables in terms of like selecting periods of life, but just bariatric surgery in general, pre-op, we're able to eat a significant amount more. So fats have the most calories, right? Where it's 9 calories per gram, and it takes your body a bit longer to also absorb them. So they kind of sit in your stomach, and majority of us prior to surgery were able or enjoyed probably higher, fattier foods. And you're not to blame. They're delicious, right?
I've yet to find a fat that I do not like.
Yeah. I've found fats that don't like me, but I've
Also
yet to find one that I don't like. So that's your cheeses, your yogurts, your dairy, your oils, fried food, right? Like all those have some type of fat, whether it be saturated, polyunsaturated, trans fat, right? Like there's all different kinds of fats. And some are more beneficial and some aren't necessarily the most beneficial, but are okay to have sometimes. A little disclaimer, I have to say that. But for post-op, a lot of us have had our anatomy changed. A lot of us don't have the same body parts or enough of the good microbiome or whatever it is to actually break down fat. So fats after bariatric surgery are complicated and super individualized. And I don't think that there's like a specific amount of grams you should aim for every single day. I think it depends on what you're doing and where you're at post bariatric surgery. Because when you first come out of surgery, you're mainly eating sources of fats.
Yes.
The cheese, the yogurt, right? Like we're having things that tend to be higher in fat. And some people tolerate them well, and some people can't tolerate them at all. Typically, if you had RNY or a duodenal switch, because your anatomy has changed, it's a lot harder for you to process and break down fats as it would be for someone who had a gastric sleeve or even a lap band way back when or anything like that, because we still have the parts that would break it down. But we're talking about seasons, right? So post-op, that's immediately post-op. And then when you're about like a year out or even 6 months to a year, you can typically have a little bit more and tolerate a little bit more. And that's kind of where the majority of your expedited weight loss is going to happen. But also your stomach is much smaller. So you probably don't have a lot of room for adding in healthier fats. Your fats are coming from your lean proteins, your vegetables, if you have any, or the oil you're cooking in, or butter, whatever you're using in that sense. Once you get to the point where you are able to have less of a restriction, or you start weight training, or you're doing just more, or you want to maintain, that's where you can start introducing a little bit more healthier fats that don't necessarily take up a ton of like space in your pouch, we'll call it. Your dressings, right? Avocado, nuts and seeds. And that's in addition to the things you're already probably having, like your yogurts, your milk, you can always add more, like add more if you can, if you need more calories, if you need more because fats are the things that make our hormones work, that make our organs work. We need fats to break down all of our micronutrients. And so we need them at every season post-op for sure. And I think, like I said before, it's the quality, not necessarily the quantity. If you want to really maintain and take care of yourself in a sustainable way, healthy fats can't hurt to have. Obviously, if you have an underlying condition, you need to speak with your doctor, but they're necessary post-bariatric surgery, 100%.
Are there any underlying conditions just right off the bat that kind of are like, hey, maybe we should look at our fat content, that just come to mind right off the bat?
I mean, I'm sure there's plenty, but for some reason, none are like blaring out at me. My first instinct is like liver and kidney. I mean, I think if you have an underlying medical condition, you should be weary of having too much of anything.
Yes.
And that's something I would highly recommend you go see a registered dietitian to help you navigate the specifics that you need for whatever that condition is. Some people have like lipidemia, like there are situations where you should be on a lower fat diet, but again, it's the quality. You still need fats. You're still going to eat fats. A lot of the foods you eat on a day-to-day basis have fats. You have to cook your food. There's fat and oil, right? Like you're going to have fats, but it's the quality of the fat that you could choose when you have the choice that would matter when it comes to most underlying conditions, but I can't say it as a blanket statement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important, is there are different levels of fats. And I think we would agree with every macronutrient that there are different levels of, not all carbs are created equal, not all proteins are created equal. when people are identifying like fats in their content, because I feel like when you talk to bariatric patients, it's either that they're getting too much fat or not enough fat. How can you really discern what a good fat is? Or I don't know, like good or bad isn't a good way to put it, but what are some prime sources of fats as opposed to some less reputable?
Yeah. So I would say like we'll go 80-20, right? Like there's a time and place for what is called trans fats, which are the things that are found in like your snack foods, your packaged foods, your fried foods, things like that. And listen, I'm like all for enjoy life. We didn't have surgery to feel restricted. We had surgery to have a sense of freedom. So you can enjoy all different kinds of fats. Sorry, my child just opened the door to say goodnight. Good night, honey. Bye bye. I'm on a call.
I will tell you, this is like the third registered dietitian interview, so it's actually going to be great as these episodes come out because I think I really want to go there if you're comfortable with it. So many times we get tied up in our bariatric journeys that we have to either eat separately or we have to eat separate from our children. What are some strategies that can really just help us understand that like what's good for a bariatric patient might be good for our children and vice versa?
I love this. Jamie, the sleep dietitian, is actually doing a series on her Instagram. What's good for a baby is good for you.
Yeah.
After weight loss surgery. And it's so true. It's our stomachs are little baby stomachs. So when I have an odd situation. I'm celiac, so I'm gluten free. So I'm used to eating like separate from most of the family. But I try and make it as compatible for everyone as possible. And then they have pasta or, something else on the side. But teaching your children about food and about nutrition and why you always have a protein on your plate and you always have a fruit or vegetable on your plate. And that's because that's like you get big and strong. Like there's conversations you can have around that when it comes to like family eating and family time and family meals. But I think that it's hard because just like there's different phases of bariatric surgery, post-op like eating, there's phases of teaching your child how to eat and what they're capable of eating and their little stomachs in the beginning. I mean, at 6 months, you're supposed to start introducing regular food. And it's hard because there's different options. You could do purees, baby-led weaning, all these different types of things. But at the end of the day, you're fueling them, just like you have to fuel your new pouch. You have to start slow, start mushy, start learning what you like, what you don't like, how your palate works, what you're sensitive to. It's all one big experiment. And I just think having and getting your family and your kids involved in that kind of discussion is really important, because if your kids are a little bit older and are more aware that mommy's eating something different, or why isn't daddy eating the pizza we got, right? Like they're allowed to ask questions and be curious. I think it's okay to say my stomach's just a little bit different, and for right now I'm going to eat something that's going to make me feel good. Does the pizza make you feel good? How's your energy? And have open conversations about what food can fuel you to do. And that's kind of how I would approach it if like you have kids at home is fuel. I need to fuel myself. And these are the things that make me feel good right now. So what makes you feel good right now? And talk about it that way.
Yeah, it's funny. When I had surgery, Allie, my oldest, was 7. So that would mean this is horrible. This is why you don't do math when you're recording.
I don't math ever. So
-3, so 4. So Stella was 4, Allie was 7. And it was kind of funny because we would get hangry at the same time. And I'm pretty sure my wife was ready to walk out because it was right in the middle of the pandemic. So, like, it's like summer of 2020. All three of us would kind of crash within the same level. And it'd be like, here, you're having refried beans with taco seasoning on it. Like, eat this now.
yeah.
And then just like calm yourself down and get it. But it was kind of cool because as my restriction kind of evolved as it goes on, like you don't feel as sensitive as you go on. I really started to grow and develop. But what I started to cook a lot for myself really were just family meals that could work for everyone. It was a lean protein, a vegetable, and some sort of rice or fun carb, I would say.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that like there's no bariatric specific food. Like
Yes.
there's no right way, or there is wrong ways to do this, but like there's really no right way. Like you have to involve your culture, your family, your budget. Like there's so many variables when it comes to eating in general. And then you add on bariatric surgery. It has to be customized for you. It has to work for the people in your environment and mentally, physically, and emotionally for you. There's so many things that we have to make decisions on in life and do, and we're all busy. How can you make mealtime just a little bit better and nutritious and fun for you and your family? It should all fit. You don't need 9 million separate meals. I mean, I know people who their toddler gets mac and cheese and their husband wants this and right, like, and then their older kids will only eat that, and I'm like, I can't. That's a boundary of mine. I unless there's allergies or extenuating circumstances, and I'm lucky to, knock on wood, never haven't experienced that in my personal family, but um I don't have the capacity to cook 9 million different meals. So we got one pot, and that's what's in that is pretty much what you're eating, unless I have leftover mac and cheese and she really, really wants it.
We had a policy for the longest because, like my youngest was 4 at the time, and 4 seems to be that age where they really get into 3 or 4 things and that is their things. But it's like I can't fight this fight for the 15th night in a row. So we pretty much got to a point of like, this is the meal for the family, and then here is a 79-cent pack of Aldi hot dogs. And if you're not going to eat the meal, like, I don't think the police are going to come knocking at our door and it's like, well, what did you do? Well, we fed our kid like a pork chop with some broccoli and some jasmine rice. You monster. Like, get the cuffs and book them. It's like, well, what was their second option? It's like, I never grew up with a second option. So it was like, here's the pack of hot dogs. Here you go to town. And she got over that phase eventually.
Yeah. And I think that there is so many different ways to go about food, but your toddler is going to be picky, your teenager is going to be picky, and they're allowed to have preferences, and it's all seasons. The best advice I ever got from my sister when I first got pregnant, and I think it still holds true, is you're going to have a new child every 2 weeks.
Yep.
So don't get so comfortable. Don't think that they're going to love the same thing they did a month ago. Involve them, ask them, learn them. That has been like it doesn't always work, but that has been the best advice because it's so true. I mean, my daughter is 3 right now, and chicken nuggets, pasta, like the usual, and we don't have it all the time. But my motto is I usually have one of them in the fridge anyway, but
there is never enough chicken nuggets to just have in the freezer for the next 10 years.
I know. And honestly, I eat chicken nuggets all the time. They're such an protein, fats, and carbs all in one thing, and it's delicious and easy, and boom, done. So yeah, family eating is always fun and exciting if you want it to be.
Yeah, I love that analogy of just like kind of they change every 2 weeks, because I think the funniest part was having like the second child. I always compare to like, hey, we did all this training on the first child and I went into the second one, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't need to do this. And I think it was my therapist who had to like sit me down and be like, your logic is like saying I ran a marathon 3 years ago. I don't have to do any training. I can do it ice cold. And when I tell you, like, I died on our second child because I completely forgot the sleep, the rotation, that you could buy 52 different types of, or 52 bags of chicken nuggets. And then all of a sudden they just look at you one day and they're like, no, that's not the chicken nugget I want anymore. And you're like, what do you mean? We have like 87.
Yeah.
Leads.
Yep. I have the bag of the ones she doesn't like in the freezer that I make my husband eat.
I made the horrible mistake of buying Eggo waffles like from Costco. So it was like that crate of 72. And I think at waffle 67, my youngest was like, I don't do this for breakfast. And I'm like, well, we got to eat 67 waffles over the next thing. We should be done them within the next summer.
I can't. I've been there, done that. It's rough out there. I can't. I'm going to say in terms of Eggos, I'm lucky I'm gluten free because my husband has to eat all the Eggos that we have in the freezer right now.
I will say
the same things.
Not all heroes wear capes. It's like I get to use that as a pre-workout, and it's like, well, I guess if someone has to eat the Eggo,
Yeah.
I will do
You
it.
should add a healthy fat or a protein with the Eggo before you work out.
When I do the Eggo, I will sometimes use a little bit of PB Fit to kind of just like look at that as an option.
Yeah.
What are some other ways we could incorporate a healthy fat with that Eggo?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say peanut butter, nut butters, things like that. You can do a quick yogurt, cheese stick, hard boiled egg. I would go for something that's just like pure protein at that point. If you're having the Eggo, you can make the Eggo into a turkey sandwich, throw some deli turkey on there.
I never really thought of it that way, of using it as like a bread crust almost.
Yeah. I mean, sweet and salty. Yum.
How did I get to 41? How did I get to 365 pounds and never did that combination come into my life? Like, I am literally today years old, finding out that like that actually sounds really amazing. And now I'm thinking, do I have lunch meat up in the fridge? But then when you think about it, like bacon and like waffles goes amazing together for that very reason.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I mean, even making like you could make a protein waffle if you wanted to, get your own griddle thing too, but it's easy. Use what you have.
I always feel like when I make protein pancakes, I'm like, I could have just made an Eggo and like found another protein source and just have it later in the day.
Yeah. It's not the same. It's just not the protein filled products. Typically, there's like a ratio you want typically in terms of what's on the nutrition label. And for bariatrics, especially in the beginning, you want to hit a certain protein goal, but also for like blood sugar maintenance and energy at the gym and things like that, you also want a certain ratio of carb to protein. Ideally, protein would be more than carbs. And I find that what these companies do is take their normal products, so like Eggos, right? And then they just add some protein to it, but it's not enough to help actually promote blood sugar balancing and what like protein heavy products would do for your body, which is so hard, but they're delicious and there's nothing wrong with them, but they're just not this like protein holy grail, like you're going to get so much, because at the end of the day, your body's going to absorb the carbs much faster. And it's just like the chemical breakdown of it is different.
The math doesn't necessarily math, but the marketing I always think is comical, because I forget what product it was, but it was, where you're in the grocery store in the aisle, and it's like, now with 4 grams more protein, and you're like, oh, interesting. Let me flip the label over, and you look at it, and it's like 5 grams of protein. I'm like, oh, so it had 1 now. They added 4. We're at 5 grams of protein. And then you look at the carbs and fats, and it's like, this is not a protein source in my mind. So what's like, if you've never read a nutrition label before and you wanted to figure out, is it a protein source, a carb source, or a fat source? What's the best way that we can figure that out?
I mean, you can look at the label and see which number is the highest. I mean, that would probably be the tall tale sale. I've never been asked that question. Because I just assume people know like chicken is protein, like a fat is milk and a carb is everything else. But, my first instinct is to talk about how a lot of foods can also be all of them, protein, fat, and carb. And a lot of foods should be all of them. There's nothing wrong with having all the macronutrients in one single food, like beans, right? Protein, fat, and carb. Whenever I get asked, so we have the bariatric meal plate method that we teach, and half your plate is protein, and then the other half is split into 3 sections, and there's your non-starchy vegetable, your carb, and your fat. And there's different proportions. I'm often asked, like, where do I put beans? Where would I put nuts and seeds and things like that? And I'm like, well, where do you want it to be? Like it could be your fat. I would have a little less. It could be your carb. I would, definitely have more protein than the carb, or it could be your veggie, it could be what you're cooking. Like, it just all depends on what you're eating, and it's so different. So, those are, I think, what I call superfoods, because I think that they're so important and they just have so much like bang for your buck that it could be anything you need it to be on the plate.
Beans really are a game changer, because you add in like fiber and everything else, and it checks so many boxes.
I know.
That it's like, look, just eat more I know. And then you look at the cost effective additive. You can get like a can of beans for like 79 cents, I want to say, is the Aldi garbanzos right now. Can you tell, like, when you shop after a while, you're kind of like, oh, that's the standard issue bean?
It's I always say, like, get canned, get dried beans, because they're just so cheap, and you just have them, and I literally add it to anything I cook, like ground beef with. I add lentils too. Like, it's just it also is great for family because you're getting the nutrients as a bariatric patient, but also then, like, your kid's getting something that they probably wouldn't choose to eat if they're in one of those phases. And then, you're just giving people nutrients. And I think that they are a great superfood to add because they have everything.
Yeah, tacos and chili too. I feel like if you're seasoning it right, like, you don't notice it anymore with it. And I'm always happy, like, when you go to Costco and you see, like, the bag of beans, it's always in, like, a pillowcase, and it's like $4.99, where I'm just like, I don't know how beans are made. Like, this is where, like, we're gonna get to, like, I'm really good at certain things, but I'm really not good. I'm like, I don't know how they build these things so that you get a pillowcase for this price. Because I'm like, someone I think has to pick them or grow them or pick them out of a box. Okay, I'm learning so much from you, just that I should have probably covered biology. Would that have been biology or like fourth grade?
No, like environmental,
Science.
I don't even know, agriculture,
See, that's what I talk about.
garden. So I know, I've grown beans. They come in all different kinds. Like legumes is the class of beans. And so, for example, peanuts are like a root, so they grow underground or they could grow on a bush. You have like green bean, like they all grow different. Some grow in pods, some don't. Like some are the seeds, some aren't. So it just, all of them are different.
All the beans are good. I do want to talk, though, about peanuts a little bit, because when we talk about peanut butter as a protein source, it is a slippery slope for me, because I love peanut butter. Why can peanut butter as a protein source sometimes be a little bit more calorically dense, or what could be some of the issues of hitting trying to hit your protein goal with, like, straight shot peanut butter?
Well, you're not going to. You would have to eat so much peanut butter to get at least 60 grams of protein.
Do not tempt me with a good time.
You'll get so sick, and then you'll just like your tongue won't work. But anyway, I don't like, unless it is the only food you can eat, peanut butter should not be your main source of protein. There's nothing wrong with having peanut butter. There's nothing wrong with having PB2, which is the powdered form of peanut butter, or PB2 Fit, whatever you want to do. But I wouldn't typically suggest that count as the protein on your plate. I typically suggest that count as the fat on your plate, or in different circumstances, the carb, but that's like, it depends. Peanuts are a legume. They have protein, fats, and carbs in them. Peanut butter companies like to add a lot of different ingredients in peanut butter, which never makes any sense to me, because all you need to do is have peanuts and a little bit of oil and you can make peanut butter.
I will politely disagree, because when you have all natural peanut butter, I will say, like, I know it's better for me in some senses, but, like, Jiffy just is so good.
I have Skippy, like, that's what we eat. So, like, trust me, I get it. It's as a bariatric patient, it's the choices I'm making to make myself happy emotionally, physically, and mentally. So I'd rather have the Skippy crunchy peanut butter if I'm going to have peanut butter, because I'm not sitting there eating tablespoons like I used to do, thinking I was being healthy and fueling myself, when it is a high fat food. And so I think using it as a protein, in the sense of, if you are doing high intensity workouts, if you are running a marathon, I think it's a great choice, because it's easy. It'll give you that sugar spike. It'll give you that energy that you need, and be a protein. And you get some protein out of it to help with your muscles and to help with recovery and things like that. But it's not going to give you everything that you need when it comes to the amount of protein that you want. It'll give you the amount of calories, but it won't give you the amount of protein. So I would not recommend that as your main source of protein.
So then Reese Cup eggs really can't be the way that I'm going to do it this holiday season?
I think it could be, you can have Reese's Cup eggs. There's nothing wrong with having them. But like you don't need 900 of them to meet your protein goal, because at that point you've surpassed every other macro or micronutrient that you need.
Exactly. Yeah.
But also you'll just be really gassy. Like that much peanut butter for anyone,
Wouldn't stop me at all.
your poor family.
You know, they say that often. I will say that.
No, peanut butter is great. It's just not, I personally wouldn't recommend it as your main source.
And you go the crunchy over the creamy, huh?
Always.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I'm sorry that Chelsea had to be wrong on that last one, but no, there's no such bad thing as peanut butter when it comes to me. So, getting back to like with fats though and everything else, I can never say the word, so I'm going to butcher it though. Fats do contribute to satiety. Did I do it right?
Yeah, like satiated.
Yeah.
Satiety is.
Satiety. This is about the 5th recording I've done with a registered dietitian where I get satiety.
No, it's good.
I love that each one of you gives me the very polite, like, you're really trying, keep it up.
Yeah, it's fine.
Who's next? And I feel like you're texting, like, you got to get them to say this word.
But yes, fats help you with satiety. They're very satiating. They're very filling. They provide protein, fats, and carbs. And that's what you need to feel satiated and full and fueled and energized. So it's a really great thing to have if you're going on a hike, if you need like that hit of everything quickly, but also it's a nice snack. It's a nice thing to add to apples and bananas and an Eggo waffle and a smoothie. It's just a one of those, like I said, I consider legumes to be like a superfood. It's one of those things that it can't hurt to have, but the quantity does matter, and the quality, in my opinion, does matter too.
It's kind of like the poison comes within the dose, I think the phrase is, where it's like, look, anything in moderation is fine, but you can really go ham on anything and you're going to cause like a little bit of an issue with it.
Just a little bit. I mean, gosh, I used to sit with a tablespoon and just eat peanut butter out of the jar.
I could Winnie the Pooh peanut butter like as a child. Like if I could go on my back and just, like I would put like the hand in there. I felt bad for whoever had the peanut butter jar after me because it's like that is the grossest, most disgusting thing possible.
You're one of those.
I am one of those. Like if we could ever just do a deal where like a food no longer has like a caloric range, like you could just take it off and eat into mass consumption, peanut butter's got to be a top 3 for me.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do. I think I would do cheese.
Yeah, you know why? Because it's like so versatile. Like I'm thinking about like, yeah, pizza, nachos. There's a lot you can do there. Pretty much anything on a burger. What was yours?
Potatoes. I love potatoes.
I do love a good potato. I love air frying them. Like when you chop them up into wedges, and they're not the same as a French fry, but like I just like them.
Yeah. Potatoes, they're so versatile. Let's have a podcast episode just about potatoes. There's so many types for every situation.
You better watch. I will bring you back like in a couple months and be like, we're going to have a long, in-depth talk about the potato.
That's fine. Well, I do think potatoes and rice and those kinds of starchy carbs are controversial in the bariatric community. So I do hope you have a really good episode on.
We have Kim Terapelli, who is going to be going over all of the things carbs, and we get into that as well.
Love that.
What is your big thing about starchy carbs that we wish we could just settle it or at least make it least controversial? Because I feel like with education, I've realized like, oh, this isn't controversial at all anymore, but it's still out there. So how can we lay that to rest?
You need carbs, and there's nothing wrong with having some of them.
Yeah, it's funny because working with Kim was my registered dietitian when I got to like about, I want to say like 15 months post-op. Like I was fully in maintenance, but I was in that weird phase where it's like, I don't know why I have no energy and I have like brain fog and I don't know why I'm binging like on the weekends. Like I would see pizza or a pretzel and you would think it was like the last pizza or pretzel in the history of the world. And then she's like, you eat no carbs at any point in your day. But she was also like, you should eat vegetables too. It's kind of weird, like, and why I'm like doing this series is registered dietitians probably don't get the right amount of credit that you deserve in the entire medical field and the bariatric community. And I wish you were all like treated adequately as what you do. You educate, you inspire, and you put a lot of these things to rest. And when I think about it, people who struggle with fats, how can you help them get over the fat scare?
Fats are going to help you get all of the nutrients you need out of every other food. And then those fats take those nutrients and deliver them to your organs, your thyroid, your liver, your kidneys, your heart. Like, what other organs are there? All of them need fat. You need fats to be the transport of those nutrients to your organs. So it's like why salad dressing was invented, because you can have fiber and green leafy vegetables and things on a salad, but you need some type of fat to actually absorb them. So that's why salad dressings are fat based, right? They're
I
oil.
am still learning so much in this episode.
You know,
I'm realizing how many gaps there are in my education talking to you, but this has been awesome.
yeah,
Wait, is that really why they made salad dressing?
yeah, because you need the fat to absorb all the nutrients from your fruits and vegetables.
Where did you learn that?
Escuela, school.
There we go. You know, you'd think for someone who lives in one of those things and gets a paycheck out of it, I'd get a little bit more, but
Yeah, but you're in a different subject. I learned that in college, my second bachelor's degree. It's not like I like read a magazine and learned it. But yeah, vitamins, you have different types of soluble vitamins. You have water soluble vitamins. So those are the ones that like would break down in water. And then you have fat soluble vitamins. And those are the ones you typically find in a lot of your fruits and vegetables. Vitamin A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. So when you combine them with a fat, they are able to be absorbed and taken everywhere you need to go. Now, I don't know a lot about men's health, but specifically women's health, your hormones, your estrogen, your progesterone, your cortisol, your epinephrine, your norepinephrine, your anything, your adrenals need fats
yes.
to do what they need to do. Your hormones are very affected by the healthy fats in your body in a good way. So, as women on any part of your healing journey, many of us have thyroid conditions. Many of us are going through menopause or perimenopause or PCOS or anything like that, where your hormones can be totally disrupted. Healthy fats are going to get you the nutrients and the things that your hormones and your organs need. So, please not fill yourself up, but have healthy fats. There's nothing wrong with having fats in your life. They do not make you fat. They are very important.
It's such a great way to put it, and really does kind of leave us at a good spot of here's what you should know and walk away with. Chelsea, this has been awesome. We are going to get ready for the lightning round. Are you ready for this?
I don't do well under pressure, but okay.
Everyone seems to say this, but I keep pressing on. So
Let's go.
with Busy Bariatrics, we do the busy method. Each letter kind of stands for a tenet that we believe is on your bariatric journey. I just want you to share whatever comes to the first thing in mind. The B is for building habits. What's the best habit you've built for yourself after bariatric surgery? Or since you are a professional as well, you can go with I wish everyone did this as a habit.
I personally having protein with a protein with everything and leave it at that has helped my mindset, like take away the obsession, just knowing that I had my protein and everything else on the plate is a bonus. I get to choose and I'm the adult here. There's, Jamie, the sleep dietitian, is not in my kitchen slapping my hand away from anything. As long as I have protein with it, that's an A+ in my mind. And that has taken away so much of the pressure and the obsessive and the compulsions that I've had in my past that I'm lucky enough they haven't gone away completely because I'm human, but
I would say as human beings, and I love that you have that perspective as someone who's had bariatric surgery. I don't think they ever fully go away. I think we learn to manage and heal our relationship with them. But I agree 100% on that. The you kind of touched about, you can kind of figure out, it's understanding nutrition. Okay. Anything else we should know besides that beautiful? You can just say same and we can go on to S.
Yeah, no, nothing. I mean, there's tons I could share, but for the sake of time, I think listen to the podcast episode again if you don't know what my you would be.
Just hit back like the 30-second thing 3 times and we'll be good to go. S, what is your favorite way to stay active?
Walking. I like keeping it simple.
It is such an underrated form of exercise. And I don't know how, but somehow that was a debate this year in the fitness community, is walking exercise. And I'm like, are we really at this point of the internet that like, and people were screaming at each other because you'd have one side that was almost like, well, if I get up from the couch and I walk to the toilet, is that exercise? It's like, oh, you're moving your body. Like, but I always recommend for all of our clients, really just start with a step goal and find a really good walking route or a treadmill where you put a TV show in front of it and just go to town.
Yeah, or a thrift store. Just walk.
You know, window shopping is highly underrated. We were in Pittsburgh during like a snowstorm and I wanted to get my steps. And I just walked to Walmart, and you don't realize like you can get some really good laps in there.
Mm-hmm. Trust me, I do it all the time.
It is a good way to decompress. And the why is for showing up for yourself. What's the best way you show up for yourself these days?
That's a hard one because what's the best? You don't need the whole kit and caboodle story. I show up for myself by being really good at communicating my needs. That's been really hard for me in the past, and especially with my husband and a toddler and boundaries and going through this journey and clients, right? Like life is busy, and allowing myself to not always be the people pleaser or the quiet one, and communicating my needs has been really important in all of my relationships with myself and the people around me.
That really is great. And it's very common, I think, in the bariatric community with people-pleasing tendencies and establishing boundaries. And it was probably one of the toughest lessons I had to work on after surgery is, what does that look like? Because I knew clearly what it didn't, but I didn't necessarily have a good template. So I love that. That's such a great answer. You're like, wow, I got through busy. We should be kind. We actually put an exclamation point at the end of it. And that is for a healthy source of dopamine. What is your favorite healthy source of dopamine?
I'm actually on this journey now trying to discover what my healthy source of dopamine.
I love that.
Because I would say that I am an all or nothing person. So I'm learning how to navigate you don't have to go balls to the wall with every hobby and everything that you enjoy doing, or creating a business out of everything that you enjoy doing. And so I would say that my dopamine hit right now is definitely thrifting. Just searching for, something that makes me feel happy and good that I want to like have in my home.
Love that. What has been, I'm pretty sure I know this because I think you put it on your stories, but what has been your favorite thrift find lately?
I love geese.
I thought that I did see that. Yes.
They're just cute and they make me smile. And I don't know how it got so out of hand. And this is what I mean by like a dopamine hit. Like it all just happened so fast. And
it's now a thing.
8 months, it's been like blown up in my life, but they just make me happy. And I just think that they're cute and adorable. And that's really how it started with my porch goose. And then now I have them all over my home. And then plants. I love plants.
Were you a Sopranos fan by any chance?
No, I've watched episodes, but not enough.
Tony was obsessed with the geese in season 1, and it stood for a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's a good deal. Okay, Chelsea, as always, I just enjoy talking to you. I feel like you really do bring a very practical approach to nutrition, but you have the research and science based that really is like this perfect blend of like, look, here is the theory and background of it, but this is how we make it practical. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me over in the Sleep Dietitian inside of the Tribe membership. I'm the lead dietitian inside of there, and I love my Tribe babes. You can find me on Instagram, Chelsea.Bernardez. You can, I don't know, find me in the street, at a thrift store, whatever.
You can find me in the street. So, ladies and gents, we're going to put that in the show notes. You can find her in the streets.
In the streets.
Always good. Chelsea, seriously though, I laugh. I enjoy talking with you. I love what you bring to the community because it is just a good conversation on a really great topic, and we had a good laugh with it. So now I have to go through my incredibly long outro. So you can go grab a cup of coffee, come back in like 2 minutes, do whatever you want. But if you want more from our content, please go ahead and hit subscribe to our YouTube page, Busy Bariatrics, for more in-depth content. If you'd like this episode, the best way you can help support the show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review. Every week, we will be giving away one free product from our sponsors and announcing the winner on our Friday email list, so be sure to subscribe there as well. If you feel this episode can help someone, screenshot it and drop it into your stories with a link to the episode to help spread the love. And as always, keep getting busy. Thanks again, Chelsea.
Thank you. Yay.